Hey, what's up everybody, Isaac here, back with another New World video, and it's been quite a while, but I'm back. Well, we had winter, and I like to snowboard, and we can only snowboard on the snow in the winter time, and well, all the snow's melted now, so I did a lot of playing out on the snow on my snowboard. Well, we had snow, but the snow's gone, so here we are, we're back at it with New World. So I jumped back on, and there's definitely a tanking problem still in New World. Not enough tanks. A lot of tanks that, don't necessarily, have things quite down. So we're going to walk you through here. So you can see I ran through the first part. I popped my nice little taunt with my Hatchet, which I love. If you've watched my old videos, you know I love my Hatchet tank. And, well, you can see, even though we've had some different nerfs to the Hatchet, mainly with the survivability, it's still a very good tanking weapon, as you can see me using it here, and you'll see that I use it fairly decently in this video, very effectively. So some people aren't gonna like you to be tanking with a Hatchet, but it's one of the best tanking off weapons in the game, best taunt in the game by far, especially if you have refreshing torrent rather as a perk. It's going to make it even better, even though it's already the best taunt in the game. So what I'm going to do here, going to come up, taunt everything here, and try to drag it off to the side. When I can, I love to back myself into one of these corners. That way I can turn the backs of all of the enemies to my teammates, and it just makes it so easy for them to DPS without getting killed. So anytime you can do that, it's going to allow your DPS to go low con and be super strong at killing stuff super fast, and it's just gonna make things so much easier for your team as a whole. But you do gotta be careful, because if you don't have a strong enough team and you're trapped behind, all of these mobs back here, you're gonna start going down, and well, once your tank goes down, the rest of your team's a decent chance they might wipe as well. So with caution, take this approach. So it's a very strong approach, back into the corner and let your teammates have free range to take them out fast, but it can get you in trouble as well. So this next part, it can get pretty messy. I didn't get over here quite fast enough, but obviously I still was backed into the corner. And so we gotta try and chase down these Reavers, and no matter what, they just go running all over the place. Have to go chasing the one because he's on our healer, and then our DPS. I think one of our DPS ended up going down here, but number one, I had to save the healer first. So we can afford to lose a DPS, but if we lose the healer, we start getting ourselves into trouble. So we get ourselves into a little bit of a situation, but we manage, we recover, and we are good to go. So just trying to group everything back up here and get back into my little corner. So there you can see, pulling out my Hatchet, trying to get that raging torrent and getting my good old taunt off, get my big AoE taunt, so get them all to focus on me. If you do get another knock, I couldn't get my taunt off fast enough. So that's one problem. You gotta make sure your taunts are up, when you can at the appropriate times, because, well, when you don't have your taunt up, sometimes your teammates go down. And obviously you can't have 1000% uptime on your taunts. It's just the way life goes, but try to keep your taunts up as much as you can. The big key to that with this refreshing torrent, you go ahead and you taunt with your Hatchet, switch to your sword, then switch back to your Hatchet, and you hit a bunch of enemies with your raging torrent. And your refreshing torrent, it's going to bring your Hatchet back off of cooldown very fast. And your defender's resolve on your sword, that's just kind of your backup taunt. Your taunt on your Hatchet, that's going to be your main one. And we're pulling back out our sword and shield, that way we can block with our shield, but also our teammates are going to do extra damage while we have a sword and shield out with that leadership perk. So moving right along here, a few different ways you can do this. Some people like to call this boss up to the reset or even up to the last room behind us, but personally I like to just keep moving right along. I'll come in, sit on the boss, the rest of our teammates go and quickly take out the archer that's off to our right. Well, I just solo tank this guy, and then they come and take him out. You could drag him up onto the top, onto the archer. That works to save you a couple of seconds, but it's just kind of a mess when you get all of these guys on that little bridge. Sometimes people will get knocked off into the water, and just a pain in general. So once you get knocked off in the water, it's an extra respawn. And the more respawns we have, the less likely we are to get gold. So the main purpose of these videos ain't so much how to do speedruns or anything like that, but it is how to get a nice solid gold. Not trying to take too many chances that are going to screw us up, you know, but we are trying to be efficient and make good time so we can assure that we don't time fail. And if you do beat it by a little bit of extra time, it's going to help you as well, because if you get a few knocks and you lose some points that way, well, you can make up for it by having a little extra time bonus. So as we move into this room, we go ahead and we kind of gather the attention of everything outside. We drag it in, we get a nice AoE taunt off. And you can see one of the javelineers, he ran outside the room. They like to run away and then throw javs from very far away. So I had his taunt, but he ran away, and I can't afford to go chasing him outside of the room because that just causes a bunch of chaos. I just gotta wait for him to come back, and then we will re-grab his aggro. So we go ahead and grab the attention of the first two guys. We get right in the middle where we can drop a big AoE taunt on everything, and well, we get everything taunted. So this part can be a little bit of a pain, a little bit messy. So we get a very nice group here on this one, and obviously we can't get the other archer quite grouped up with us, but that's where we have one of our DPS that's got some good CC to go and take him out. So the DPS build I showed you earlier, it's not real great for soloing mobs. I'll do it if no one else in our team will, but it's really better to have someone with a spear to solo the mobs. The spear with knockdowns, it's really strong for soloing mobs, but the rapier ice gauntlet build I showed you, it's not as great because we don't have those knockdown CCs, but it is incredible for doing mass DPS to big groups of mobs. So not every single build is going to be ideal for every situation, but that's why it's good to have a little bit of a variety within your team. So whether or not you can successfully get a gold isn't always about how well you are at tanking or how good one of your DPS is or how good your healer is. It kind of takes a whole team. Sometimes it matters having the right comp. And the thing is, there are certain DPS that you can have 3 of this DPS and you're going to do just fine, but there's other DPSs that they are very strong, but if you had 3 of that specific DPS, it's going to be hard on you. So moving on to this boss, one important thing that I like to do is you see those couple of mobs at the top of the steps. We drag them back and we kill them first before we come in on this. So then the next thing we do is we come right into the middle. We get a nice big old AoE taunt on everything. You know, you could see a couple of our DPS did end up going down there and gets us in a little bit of a tight situation. But we got our pots and, well, we get it figured back out. Just barely, but we do sneak it out. And now that all the ads are gone, it's just focusing on taking out this boss. This is kind of the main thing here. When you go in on this boss, it's good that your DPS, they go and take out the archers first. Because if they don't, the archers, they're going to start picking off your healer, then you're going to get in lots of trouble. So this guy is a pain. For me, as a DPS, his slam always takes me out. Not always, but too often. I'll mistime an ability and I'll go to do an ability and then he'll do the slam and I can't cancel out of that ability, and well, there you go, you get knocked. So definitely got to be careful on that one. You can see I'm getting a little bit carried away. You don't have to run around tagging everything. I like to try and get some extra aggro so they don't go chasing after someone else, but Really, you can just run by, get line of sight, and go hide in this little corner. Let everything group up, and then come out and get a good old taunt off. And I like to come back on the opposite side so I can kind of turn the backs to our DPS, and hopefully they can, for the most part, have free range at just trying to take out the mobs, you know, without the mobs swinging through them at me. It's always kind of an important thing. Anytime you can, be predictable. Turn the mobs' backs to your DPS and let them swing away for free. Some people will grab this boss and drag him back to the corner with that whole mess, but if we're playing it safe, it's really better to just not kill both of these in two separate runs. Otherwise, it gets pretty chaotic. It's very manageable, but you're just adding extra unnecessary, you know, chance of screwing up, chance of ruining your gold run. Not something you need to do in order to make time, so if you want to play it safe, take these out in two different bunches like we did here. We drag the first bunch to the back corner, and then once we cleanse, we come back and we take out this little group, this little boss, and we move right along. So now we're moving up onto the first boss. This boss can be pretty annoying. I don't know if they made it easier, but it almost felt easier to me than the last time. This boss has always been super annoying to me. You know, I've always been able to do it, but it's just an annoying one for me. But it felt just crazy easy these last couple of times I did it. Not sure why. Did they make Scylla easier? Don't know. Haven't been around for the last 6 months, but she sure felt easier this time around. But anyways, all you gotta do is you gotta take her to 15 stacks. You can see that little fist up on above her head, and you can see she got stacks of 4, 5, 6 climbing up. And if she climbs up to 15, and then somebody can go ahead and drop the orb. That's all you need. If you got strong DPS, you don't need to go above 15. You're still gonna beat her before she starts her mechanics. So that's all you need. And if you need to go higher, your DPS, they're not DPS-y enough. So you're probably not gonna beat the dungeon anyways. So just go to 15 to 18 and you'll be fine. You know, you can go right up to 25 and you might be able to survive, but not really worth the risk. We're not trying to risk it for the biscuit. We're not going for a speed run here. We're just trying to get a nice solid run, good time, good solid gold, you know, get her done, get her taken care of. So you can see at this point, once she's doing her little electric attacks, you don't gotta worry about anything. She's not gonna do enough damage, anything. You just pull out your sword and shield and we just hack away. We got our leadership perk on, so if our sword and shield are out, our teammates get some extra damage. So that's all we're doing. We're hacking and whacking. So we do have weaken on our ultimate ability with, you know, the leeching vines, and we do have weaken on our hatchet with our throw. So as she gets closer to 15 stacks, that's when we're going to want to use our ultimate, and we're going to try and weaken her. Usually when it gets right around 10, 11, that's when I try to use my leeching vines, just to make her a little bit weaker. See, right as soon as it hit at 10, I go ahead and drop my leeching vines on her. It adds weaken to her, so it's going to, as she, you know, builds up stacks, she gets stronger, but if we add weaken onto her, it kind of negates the strength she adds. So just something to keep in mind. If you have weaken, go ahead and kind of save it for when she gets like around 10 stacks and start using it up. Weaken her up and it's not going to hurt near as hard. I like to switch to hammer for this part. Hatchet, it doesn't have CC. In this part, your job is just to survive. And hammer, it is really good for this part because you can go ahead and CC the troops. And see, you can see here, I just go ahead and drop a nice CC off on them. And then, you know, I don't go and hit them. If I CC them, then I hit them, they come un-CC'd. So we just CC them and we let them sit, we let them hang. One mistake here I made is I backed up into this corner. And I didn't mean to trap myself like I did. I do like to back up into this gate just because it gives the healer an opportunity to drop a heal on me, and they can also use the heal for themselves in that cage. So you can split a heal and you can make it work for both cages. If they need a heal, drop a heal on me, but they can come and steal some heal if they need it as well. So definitely a strat that a lot of people use. Did not intend to back myself into this corner. Definitely not a good idea because I couldn't escape. So if I ran into a tough situation I had to escape from, well, I was in trouble. But that's where we got our hammer. We go ahead and stun them and we just wait it out. We don't attack them because if we attack them, they become unstunned. So we stun them, we wait it out. We stun them again, we wait it out. So it's just kind of a stun and then a waiting game until our teammates finish up and they come and help us wipe everything out. So we got that taken care of, and from this point just normal tanking. Try and go ahead and grab some aggro on any of these mobs that spawn in. I grab the aggro from those guys and I come grab the aggro from this guy, and you know, just your typical tanking type of stuff. So if you want to get your gold, you can't screw up in these cages. You don't have a whole lot of margin for error. Because if you screw up in these cages, well, if you run out of time and not as many units will spawn, and then you end up failing because if you don't get your kill count, you're not going to get gold. Not unless you're doing a major speed run, which we are not doing. I'd love to do some speed runs, but you really need 5 committed players. So it's tough to do speed runs because it's just not that many people that are into doing them. I'd love to be competing for those world record speed runs, but you do need 5 committed players. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of commitment. So what I was trying to do here is a lot of times I can go ahead and hide in this little corner and I can get both of them to come chasing after me, but they just didn't want to do it this time, so I had to come back out. One thing you want to keep in mind, you do want to sit on this archer. When you come right in, sit on the archer because the melee guy is going to come to you. If you sit on the melee guy, the archer is just going to keep shooting from a distance. So if you sit on the melee guy, the archer won't come to you. But if you go to the archer, the melee guy will come to you. So anytime you can, go ahead and tank on the range. Something you want to keep in mind for this spot in particular, but just in general, it's pretty much always what you want to do. Obviously there's multiple range, you can't sit on all of them, but you get the gist of it. So this next part here, I like to go ahead and kill these 3 mobs right away. Sometimes they might follow you all the way to the end, but sometimes they just don't seem to make it. And a lot of times you can't afford to miss these 3 mobs in order to get your kill count. I'm not sure. I think did we get it dead on 100? You need 100 kills. And I feel like we might have got it dead on this one. So if somehow those 3 don't make it all the way down the gauntlet, you know, a lot of people like to run the gauntlet and try to drag those with you, but I think the last run that I just did earlier today, you know, I tried to get the team to sit there and kill those first mobs, but they wouldn't, and what do you know, we ended up short by just 1 mob because they didn't follow us all the way to the end of the hallway. So you kill those first 3 mobs, you run through, you grab aggro so your DPS can mine all the nodes that are necessary, and I like to just gather them up right on the steps, right on the archer. nuke everything down. Some people like to keep running it through onto the next doorway, but it's a little bit messier. You have to wait a little bit longer, and it just takes everything that much longer to build up. And it is important to save on time when you can. So this is one spot that it saves on time. This is the doorway that I'm talking about. A lot of people like to run around and they'll hide behind the doorway and just wait all of that time for all of the mobs to gather back up. So I pull out my hatchet. I throw a hatchet at each one of these mobs just to grab the aggro. Get in the middle of everything and drop a nice big AoE taunt. And I want to come in and sit on this archer, so I have his aggro, and so our teammates can try and do as much AoE damage as possible. It's always annoying that we got this ledge and, you know, kind of gets in the way of things, but it is what it is, so we make it work. But this little room is pretty basic. Kind of annoying because units all spawn in different random places, but generally speaking, you just try to get a little bit of aggro on everything. Then I come over and I hit this guy, get his attention, and then I'm gonna run over to the other guy, and we're gonna try and get them to all join up on each other. And there we go, we finally got a nice little group, and just like that we nuke them all down. So much faster to nuke 3 down at once instead of 1 at a time. And we got the next 2 guys spawning in. These 2 javelineers are super annoying. Sometimes one or the other will just like to sit back and throw javs at you, but if you can, try and get them to group up. But you can see, had good aggro on this first one, but he wouldn't come and join us up. Sometimes he will, but other times he'll just sit back and throw javs at you. So take him out one at a time. Unfortunately, he didn't want to join in on the party, so what do? But we come and get a tag here, and then we come over to these 2 archers. We get a nice taunt off. And once again, right here, if you have a couple of gravity wells, you can gather these 2 up, but I don't think we had any gravity wells, or if we did, well, they didn't really get used, but that's alright. You can see that one archer that I didn't get his aggro, looked like he did take out our healer. So it's gonna happen that you can't have 100% aggro on everything 100% of the time. You know, it's just the way it is. It's not gonna happen, but as much as you can, try to get the aggro of the archers. You know, even if they aren't grouped up, try to drop a taunt on one, drop, you know, a nice big AoE taunt on the other one, and keep the retention as long as you can. So we're getting down to the end, and I do switch over to my spear, mainly just so I can add some rend to these last 2 bosses. And we are keeping our sword and shield out for the most part, because once again, we got the leadership on there. But we're going to pull out our spear and add some rend. And it's not so important for this boss. This guy's kind of, you know, you buzz him down really, really fast. But the next boss is the main one, and it's not something I needed to worry about. We have all kinds of time. We have like 23 minutes, and I just made the stupidest mistake right there. Trying to play around inside of my inventory, and I walked right off the ledge. So let's just pretend that you didn't see that, and I edited it right out of the video. So moving right along, and you can see we got 23.5 minutes left, and this boss takes maybe a couple of minutes to kill. So we have plenty of time. There's really no need for me to be playing games, jumping into my backpack, but what do? It happened. Life goes on. We had plenty of extra time. We could afford that revive or that respawn. We make her work. We get her done. I got my spear out. I can add some nice rend, and then I'm gonna just pull out my sword back and hack away. I add some rend, and then I pull out my sword and shield so my teammates get that nice bonus with that leadership perk. And we go to town with our sword and shield. For the most part, when our ability to add some extra rend comes back up on our spear, we're going to go ahead and pull that out. And we're going to add some rend. And then we're back to the sword and shield, hacking, whacking away. So as long as you got good DPS, you really only need to pull one of these orbs. If your DPS is a little bit lacking, you're going to have to pull both of the orbs. But that's just the way it goes. But if you're trying to get a gold run, your DPS should be good enough that you only have to pull one orb. So pull the orb, we knock him down, and main thing, I'm just trying to add rend first, but then I hold my sword and shield out as much as I can and hack and whack. So when he's down, you just do some crazy amounts of damage, and every little thing helps. So when our real DPS are outputting crazy high damage, and I got my sword and shield out, giving that extra 10% bonus, that's really important. But adding extra rend, that's extra damage that they're going to do too, so that's pretty important as well. So if I add 10, 15, 20% rend, that's that much more damage that they're going to do, so that's even a bigger boost, a bigger bonus than our leadership perk. So pretty important to get that rend off. And you can see, there we go, we got our gold run, 26 minutes, so we got 4 minutes to spare. And, well, let's take a look at our scorecard. I think that we only had the one full death, and I don't know who that was. Oh no, we did have two. We had 2 respawns. So some idiot just ran off a bridge right at the end, and the other one, not sure. I think our healer might have went down one time. But pretty nice run, really strong group. So it's really fun when you can find good groups, nice and strong enough to get these gold runs in the random group finders. But definitely is going to help if you have a strong tank, a strong healer, but you do need to have good DPS too, because if your DPS doesn't output high enough DPS, it doesn't matter how good your tank is, it doesn't matter how good your healer is, you're gonna get wrecked. So takes a full team, but that covers it for now. So we'll catch you on the next one. We might do some DPS videos, maybe some more tanking videos, but let me know what you would like to see more of, and we'll catch you next time.